New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And this is New Thought Today for Tuesday, October 17th, 2023. Just to let everybody know, we are pre-recording today's episode as we have a very, very special guest, and finding the perfect time did not include our normal live 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon. However, we trust that you're finding this at just the perfect time for you. So we're glad you're with us. How's the day going, Z?
It's going well, man. It's beautiful fall day in Colorado, and all is well.
Exactly. Beautiful. I'm going to say the same. And folks, we did not coordinate our outfits today. I know you're asking. Yes. I know you're wondering. We just kind of showed up in the studio this way. So, all right. Enough of the chit chat. We want to introduce you to somebody amazing, and we're going to bring her on stage right now. This is Reverend Dr. Liza Rankow. She's an interfaith minister, educator, activist, and writer. Her life work centers on the deep healing that is essential to personal and social transformation. She's the founder and former executive director of One Life Institute. That's an organization that served for over 17 years to support the well-being of frontline change makers. As we'll hear a little bit later, her work has shifted a little bit, however. And she does hold a BA in Human Development from Hampshire College, a bachelor's and master's degree in health sciences from Duke University School of Medicine, a PhD in religion and social transformation from the Union Institute from the Union Institute and University. As you may hear today, we have a number of amazing adjacent friends, including a recent guest here on this program, Sharif Abdullah, and an upcoming guest on this program, Reverend Dr. Deborah Johnson. I found Liza's work, a few years back. I did a search for the term prophetic new thought. And, the interesting part is, folks, the only thing I could find on the internet that aligned with that was a paper that you wrote, Dr. Liza, about 20 years ago. So we might chat about that a little bit as we go along here today. However, we do want to introduce you to Reverend Dr. Liza Rankow. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here with you both.
And we're grateful to have you. So if you would kick us off, tell our audience, what did I miss in the introduction? What would you like people to know about you before we dig into our conversation here today?
Well, I think you got kind of the overall. Since One Life Institute sunsetted in 2021, most of my time has been focused on writing. And I've completed the manuscript, and I'm looking for the right publisher to bring that forth into the world. But it deals a lot with this intersection of mystic spirituality, social transformation, and healing, which is really the focus of my life work.
Beautiful. Folks, you can find most of what Liza does over on her website. It is a wealth of information, including recent podcasts or blog posts. And you also recently joined the Insight Timer world and have a few meditations up on Insight Timer. What's that been like for you?
Well, that is brand new. But for the last maybe 18 years, Sister Destiny Muhammad, also known as the Harpist from the Hood, she and I have collaborated in day-long retreats and community arts events. And our retreats were spirit, sound, and silence. And her harp and my facilitation and the gift of nature, where we met at a beautiful spot right in Oakland. And so those recordings are part of a CD that she and I put together as kind of the take-home package, if you will, for folks who would come to our retreats but needed something in between to sustain them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So help us understand. Well, here's one of the things I recognize in our conversation when I approached you to say, hey, do you want to come on the show? One of the first things that you shared was, well, I don't know if I consider myself so much New Thought anymore, but rather New Thought adjacent. And I'd love to hear what that means for you.
I was deeply involved in New Thought congregations. I was a founding member of a Unity Church in North Carolina back in the 80s. I was a regular active member at the East Bay Church of Religious Science under Reverend Eloise Oliver here in Oakland. And for many years was deeply involved in the New Thought community. And probably about 20 years ago, maybe, about the time of the article or the journal, the essay that you found, which was based on a chapter from my dissertation, and feeling less resonance with, this is not necessarily in the theology of New Thought, but often in the practice of it, is an individualism that I felt was not speaking to the needs of the times, which are around collective transformation, right? Social justice, even healing of trauma and healing of wounds. And so it wasn't that I broke with, I was still very much have a lot of folks I love. I'll go and just, hug up on each other. But it was no longer my central place. And so I have not been in touch with, there's been a lot of movement within the New Thought movement since that time, since the late 90s, 2000-ish, to where social justice issues have taken a much greater role in the New Thought movement. I'm delighted to see that, right? But I'm not up to date on it. Yeah. So the essay that you read was talking about the bare beginnings of that entry into addressing social justice issues, addressing oppression within the New Thought movement. And I lifted up some of the pioneers in that shift, right? And I'm aware that the direction that the movement has taken has very much followed that. But y'all have to school me on where it is today.
Oh boy, that's a dissertation you're asking for right here now. But yeah, I totally understand, having transformed through various theological movements, if you will, born a Christian, converted to Islam, studied very heavily in the Afrocentric movement with Dr. Henry Clark and Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Dr. Asa Hilliard and Dr. Naeem Akbar, and finding myself in New Thought or religious science. I prefer the religious science piece because there is a wholeness and a oneness that if you truly, I believe, embrace religious science, all things else will be taken care of, because at the root of science is activity. At the root of science is experimentation. At the root of science is taking something forward to improve something that is not already present. And so I think as the New Thought movement grows, I mean, it's still an infant when you really look at theology anyway. And I think something that I spoke to recently in a class, I think unfortunately most people come into this idea in a reverse order. They start with a religion, then they move into a spirituality, and then maybe they get to a theology, right? But I think theology is the first thing, because that's the first thing we do when we get here is ask the question, whether it's verbal or not. Who am I? Where am I? Why am I here? And that is what theology is about. It is the study of creation, or the source of creation. And then from there, we begin to see and interact with the world, and we get pushed into spirituality. And as a result of that, we form these religions based on certain precepts and rituals and practices that we have witnessed or experienced, something that anchors us into the theology. And that's where we have to move, I believe.
Well, Reverend Elsie, I'm fascinated to hear that sequence, because if you had asked me, I would have framed it in a different order. I would have thought there's an inherent spirituality within each of us, that we are part of a larger life, that we come in with, we're wired for it, right?
Yes.
And I don't mean spirituality within a religious context, or even within a cultural or theological or any kind of doctrinal context, but an organic sense of our oneness with all life, until that gets trained out of us, right? And then we engage the practices, and we find the theologies that help ideally bring us back into our awareness of that oneness. So I just love how we're all coming from different doors to enter the room.
Yes, because I believe the exact same thing, in that we come here with a question or with a knowingness. And because we are foreign to this world, we've come from spirit into matter. Now I'm, like, as they say, a fish out of water. So I have to begin asking questions. I have to begin observing. I have to become more aware. And that is the theological piece that takes place, is I have to reorient myself to a new frame of reference. And once the spirit is there, and it's trying to figure out where it is. And once it does, all these other things take place. Spirit is prime. I mean, that's from I'm an avid studier of ancient, primitive, as they say, but I call them primal cultures that had to tap in to that invisible essence that is never seen, always experienced. And when you tap into that and you move from that point, everything else falls into place. It's when you get away from that things become awkward, or things become difficult, if you will. And so I think we're saying the same thing. We just, it's like the elephant. We just biting at it where we see we can grab at it. But ultimately, I agree with your premise, is that to be in the world is to be active, is not to be passive. And I think in some places, New Thought has gotten to a point to where it's very passive. It's moving now, but it's very passive, has been very passive, and very individualistic for a long time. I recently heard an article from Alan Watts talking about the exact same thing, and he's been, he's been with the ancestors for a while now.
Yeah.
So I love that we, like you said, we weave together this basket that holds everything.
Amen.
And I'm one of those guys. I never got into the whole religion thing to begin with. It was just spirituality and mysticism. And I think that's one of the things that has attracted me to do more research on your work, Dr. Liza, is you're not afraid to say that you're a mystic, and that you're hanging out with mystics. And I was walking into the New Thought movement 20 years ago, probably right about the same time you were doing this dissertation. And I remember very clearly it was taught, well, we don't really talk about those things. It's all intern, it's all inside. So if you see war, the only thing you can do is pray for peace within yourself, because that's really just an outpicturing of your own consciousness. And I think people felt a little put off by that, because it would be very hard to look at what's happening in the Middle East today and to say, well, that's, it's all my stuff. I'm doing my prayer for peace. I know so many are, and yet we continue to see uprisings of violence and oppression. And as we were chatting prior to the show in our preparations, we kind of agreed that we're very much on the same page in our perspective of what's happening there. But I'd love for you to share a little bit more, or maybe a whole lot more, with our audience. How do you speak to others? What's your call on how we, as, let's say, spiritual mystics, how do we engage with the real life events, such as what's happening in the Middle East today?
I think I first want to invite your listeners to just take a breath, right? I think part of what we're witnessing is jumping into a side rather than feeling the pain. When I look at the history, and I think it's important that we look at the historical context, right? These events did not just begin a week ago. There are centuries and literally millennia of trauma among all the peoples in that part of the world. And that until we collectively address that trauma, we can't transform the conditions of oppression. Right? From the mystic standpoint, and I think there's a shared foundation here with New Thought in terms of a belief in the oneness of all life. Right? It's easy to profess oneness. It's very hard to apply it, to live into it. I think oneness places an ethical demand on us to respond. That oneness does not allow us to do spiritual bypass, or I'm just gonna, work on my consciousness and trust that will somehow outpicture as world peace. I think we do need to work on our consciousness. I think that's part of the equation, but it's not the whole thing. Right? So oneness demands that we actually enter in at levels of spirit, at levels of social transformation. And for me, because part of my calling in this world and how I contribute to movement work and transformational work is through healing. I see huge wounds, individual wounds, collective wounds, cultural wounds, ancestral wounds, historical wounds, wounds happening moment by moment in Gaza, in Israel right now. And that we cannot ignore that, right? All the weapons in the world are not going to heal those wounds. And all the weapons in the world are not going to transform the social and historical conditions that are at the root of current events.
Well, I mean, that's well said, because, oneness means all parts coming together. Not my part, not your part. We have to take care of our own parts, but we have to bring them together, because each one of us brings something unique and divine to the table, no matter what the table is. And until we deal with the historical perspective and can detach from the emotional or social or cultural judgment, for lack of a better word, that we may place on the situation, it becomes very challenging to come up with creative solutions. And we need solutions in addition to the prayers and thoughts, because we'll pray so that we have a clear mind when we come to these thoughts and these solutions. And having studied Islam for a large part of my life, I understand at some unique levels how that whole thing is just so disenchanting. And we said this the other day, is that it's two first cousins and their descendants fighting. These are two brothers.
Yeah.
And so it's disturbing to see that the only way I can have a relationship or make up is fight with my brother. And we have to move beyond that.
Mm-hmm. I think we need a paradigmatic shift, right? The world that we inhabit today is based in division, separation, fracture, domination. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the oneness comes in, right? Oneness is a shifting of the tectonic plates, if you will, from this dualistic, fractured, oppositional consciousness that is the colonizing consciousness, that is the racial capitalist consciousness, that is, at the root of even the climate crisis, that we seeing ourselves as separate from Earth, and that Earth is something that, we're just mining for resources, but it's inert. I mean, that oneness completely undermines that. We are one with the earth. We are one with one another. We are one with all of life. What does that demand? What is the world that consciousness would create? That's the world that I want to live in. Mm-hmm. And I think it is at that deep, fundamental level. And again, I'm talking a lot about New Thought as someone who no longer identifies as a New Thought person, but that consciousness transformation, that shift to a consciousness of oneness, more than just lip service, but what does it require of us? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a very, very powerful question. What does it require from us? It seems I'm going to refer back to the paper that we keep going to, because again, it's just so inspiring. But your final paragraph, the final couple of sentences in your conclusion, is that when the transformation of individual consciousness, that is the cornerstone of New Thought, is translated into a corresponding commitment to work for the common welfare of all beings, it has the potential to provide fresh resources and perspectives for the social and political structures central to the prophetic tradition. Mm-hmm. And
I guess I'm consistent from what I said.
Exactly, yes. And that to me is in many ways not just the proof that you're living what you believe and what you've been teaching. It pains my heart a little that I turn to my social media channels and I see people that shout oneness and then post something that says stand with Israel, or shout oneness and are not actually demonstrating what they say they believe. And I found a meme this week. I've been sharing it. Every time I see somebody in New Thought share a Star of David, I just share this image and ask that question. Okay, but how does this fit into what you're teaching? Now, so to flip it, when I look at what you're teaching, I would venture to say you've gone beyond. You've taken New Thought to where your vision from 20 years ago. You have become a prophetic voice that I believe more and more of us would do well to listen to. Yeah. And as you've been sharing today, I keep flashing on the fact that here I am sitting at the feet of a master again, because you shared this idea and then set about to live it. And I guess the question that I'm coming to is, have you experienced pushback? Have you experienced anyone saying, that's not possible, or you're naive, or this really can't happen? It's a beautiful thought, but it just can't really happen, when there are still so many out there that believe in the separation and believe in the division. How might you respond to someone that would say, yeah, Liza, nice thoughts, but it's not really possible. We can't really do that.
Well, it may not happen in our lifetime, right? But again, part of the fractured consciousness is that we have tunnel vision for our moment. If we expand our sense of belonging to a life that began long before we got here, and in some form or another, whether with or without human beings, will continue long after we leave. I am so grateful for the shoulders that I stand on, right? I'm not bringing new thought anywhere. I'm not saying anything new. I'm reaching back to things that have been said and known and lived, right? On this planet by non-contemporary European people. I think if you go back far enough in Europe, you find it, right? So I'm so grateful to the folks that came before me, and they did their part in terms of social justice movements in this country. Folks who I was privileged to know and to sit at the feet of, or if not their feet, then through their works. I'm just hoping to do my part, right? I love the metaphors of that multi-generational movement. So, the cathedrals weren't built by one generation. There are in India, maybe you've seen the living root bridges, where each generation weaves the roots, living roots, into a bridge to cross the river. But each generation has to contribute to it in order for the bridge to remain viable. So what are the stones that I am to lay, that you are to lay, that we are to lay? What are the roots that we are to weave? And then trust that those that come behind us will continue. But if we don't do our part, then it sure as heck isn't going to happen. Yeah. The times that we're in, and this is, I'm just full of controversial things to say. In working on this book that I mentioned that I'm writing, it's framed through the lens of apocalyptic times. And, apocalypse has come to mean like zombies or fallout shelters, but the archetype of apocalypse is about death and rebirth, destruction and renewal. It actually means to reveal right? So what is being revealed in these times? What is being revealed about us individually? What is being revealed about our collective life? What is being revealed about our calling and how to respond? But the very fact of the upheaval, I think, creates a possibility for that kind of transformation. Robert, in your question to me about, do people say, oh, that's pie in the sky? I think when things were so stable, it's much harder to change the foundation of something stable. But I was going to use another word, when the stuff starts to fall, then there is a greater possibility for something new to emerge.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. No, that's great, because we were asking that question a while back. What do we have to give up, right? And I think we have to give up some assumptions, right? Everybody, we got all these assumptions, and we have all these worldviews that are created out of these assumptions and beliefs and values and all of that. And we have to stop and ask the question: what if it was wrong? What if we still thought the earth was flat? Where would we be now? And so we're in this. Some people may not agree with this, but I believe from my tradition that we're in the process of becoming. Mm-hmm. Not that we've never, some people say, no, we're in being. Well, even whatever you're being right now, you had to become that, right? You weren't born. I wasn't born fully grown. I started as an embryo, and I became a child, and so forth and so on. And so we're in this continual evolutionary, dynamic and divine process of uncovering and moving closer with and getting an affinity with oneness is what it really boils down to. And one of my patents, if I don't know up, down has absolutely no meaning. So we do go through these pivotal points where we try to reconcile the opposites, but believe me, they do reconcile. And that's what we're in the process of right now. That's what in Revelation, coming out of a Christian Baptist Southern background, that was a thing that was always permanent and prominent in your teachings, is that, look, we are going to be in a new time. Well, ain't much time newer than this one. And we're going to have to get through it. And the way to get through it is to come together, to recognize the divinity in all, to activate that divinity in all by being in service. And so these are the things that we have to begin to do more and more. And I agree with you 100% that we are, whether we want to call it, changing worldview or whatever, we're in some apocalyptic times in terms of what we see taking place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I'm reminded of the idea that when the heart breaks, it allows for more light to come in. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about a great promise that even in the midst of what right now looks apocalyptic, and to those living in the Middle East, it absolutely must seem that way and feel that way. But within that, there is great promise for the renewal, for what comes next. And that's what we're going to talk about in our second segment, folks. So we need to take a real quick break, let a couple of our sponsors say hello, and share a little bit more about what happens here on the New Thought Media Network, and allow our great guests to grab a drink of water and stretch just a moment. So stay with us. We're going to be back with a whole lot more with Reverend Dr. Liza Rankow, and that's going to happen in just a moment. So please don't go away. We'll be right back. And we're back with more on the New Thought Media Network. This is New Thought Today. I'm Reverend Robert Brzezinski, my dear co-host, Reverend Elzia Sekou, and our special guest, Reverend Dr. Liza Rankow. I do apologize. I've been mispronouncing your name in our opening segment. That one's on me. I didn't clarify before we got started.
No worries.
But we're back, and we've been talking. I'm just going to start introducing you as a modern day mystic and healer, because that's what I'm hearing is a great recognition of the deep spiritual truths, but also a sense of commitment and calling to be part of the healing of what's happening. And at the end of the last segment, we had just started talking about how the chaos, the apocalypse, if you will, is truly an opportunity for something new to come forward. And for a new healing. And so I think we'd love to hear a little bit of what is your vision for this healing? Where's the world going? Where as humanity, where is all this taking us? Where are we headed?
You think I know this? You know, I say that I am not optimistic, but I have hope. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think at this moment, things could go either way in terms of where is the world heading. Yeah. We, on one level, we are going, full tilt towards the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
And I hope that's not what it takes. I've studied a lot of the prophecies of indigenous cultures from all over the world that speak to what's going on at this time on the planet. And according to many of them, we have been here before, right? Humanity has basically self-destructed and taken a lot of the planet with it. And then over time, Earth regenerates itself. And the remnant of human beings who didn't forget the truth of oneness, the truth of life, it repopulated as well. Even in the Abrahamic traditions, right? Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, we have the flood story, right? The story about Noah building the ark, right? That is a story of the apocalyptic transformation. The old world was wiped out and a new one gradually emerged. So I think we're at a point where it could go either way. We could do a rerun of the demise of human existence on the planet, or we could pull ourselves into that transformative shift that I talked about earlier, right? The consciousness that's driving war, that's driving climate catastrophe, that's driving oppression and division, that consciousness is set on destruct. It's not sustainable, right? Whether it takes everything with it or not, I don't know. Apocalypse, if you look at it etymologically, right? You look at the word, it actually means the end of an age, right? It doesn't just mean the end of the world, but the end of an age.
Yeah.
And if you look at the age that we have been in here on planet Earth over the last couple thousand years, an age that's characterized by that fractured consciousness and all that it yields, I think an end to that age is actually a good thing, right? I hope that it doesn't have to be the end of, life as human life on the planet, the life of this beautiful, beautiful Earth, I hope we don't have to take it down to the nubs in order for the renewal, the reset, the rebegin.
Yeah.
Being involved in community and doing social justice work, there is so much exciting new paradigm, beauty that is emerging all over, right? People creating new structures for how do we feed ourselves and one another? How do we educate ourselves and one another? How do we care for ourselves and one another? All of these social institutions that we see crumbling, there are alternatives that are already coming into existence. You know, that gives me hope. So, well, you know, I try to pay attention, but I don't have the answer.
Well, you know, I like that term of age, new age. And for those that are in tune with sacred astrology from all ancient cultures, from Egypt to Chaldees to all of those, all of them, Native American, all of them paid attention to the stars because they understood ages. And right now, whether you say we're in it, we're almost in it, we just got in it, the age of Aquarius is a humanitarian age. And so we can begin to see the effects of what happens when you're not humanitarian. We get what we got now. And now, as you're saying, Doc, we begin to see what happens when we begin to think humanitarianly. We come up with new solutions for housing, new solutions for medicines, new solutions for sharing and addressing old traumas and wounds. And so we're now in that place, that liminal place, as they say, if you're starting to deal with mystic points. You're in that liminal space where, yes, it could go either way. But I'm a practitioner of Pharoah Sanders and Leon Thomas' song from way back when that said the Creator has a master plan. And we have to begin to look at things from above. We have gotten so marred down into the detail of life that we forgot about what life is. You know, we're so busy trying to live life that we don't even know what it is. And so we've gotten askew and we're going off on a course. You know, they say when you sail, if you sail for 60 miles and you're 1 degree off point, you're going to end up a mile away from your point where you're trying to get. Well, I don't know. Well, we are way beyond 60, right? So we have to begin to readjust our compass. We have to begin to readjust the vision. And you can only do that from above. Because you get so involved in the details, sometimes you don't even know what you're doing. And I think we have to begin to cultivate that and act that and live that by being in service, by being creative, by coming up with new ways to serve problems that are obtainable in terms of resolving them. But nobody wants to be on the edge. Nobody wants to be the first one to take the step or be someone, you know, as you said, Doc, out there on the leading edge saying, hey, we can't continue this way. If we do, guess what's going to happen? We're going off the cliff, whether you want to or not.
And I think part of that shift in perspective is to also move beyond the human-centered frame.
Without a doubt.
Right?
Yes.
This was something that opened up. You know, I learned so much. I continue to learn so much through the writing process. And I was lamenting, like, how are we ever going to reach all of these? Like, how are we going to shift the tide of consciousness? Yeah. And the trees, you mystics talk to trees. I don't know. The trees said basically like, yo, you know, humans are just a small part of the consciousness of this planet. The consciousness of life on this planet is already attuned to oneness. It's just a small portion of humans that have gotten amnesia about it. And so it shifted the balance for me in a way that was so helpful, right? That it's not that there's this huge majority that is driving everything. Now, granted, they have all the weapons and a lot of the power and a big megaphone, but they are not, that the power that they have is material, right? And the real power is spiritual. The spiritual majority, if we move beyond just human beings, the spiritual majority already knows what's up. And there are a number of human beings that never forgot. So it helped me to see, okay, it's just actually a small number of humans that we need to wake up, that we need to help remember the oneness. And to go back, something you said, Robert, about the broken heart, you know, I think that breaking open of our hearts, as deeply painful as it is, can sometimes open the door to oneness. That it is through the feeling body, it is through the witness of one another's pain and the willingness to feel our own that can help. It's not just a cognitive shift. It's a fundamental, you know.
Yeah. There's a Sufi saying real quick, Robert, that says the mode of transportation you took to the door is not the mode of transportation you take to go through the door. And we've used all this other stuff to get there. Now we have to go beyond that to something higher to go actually in the door.
Yeah. I'm personally reminded of the great author Douglas Adams. And I think that as a young man reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that was that place that opened the door at the end when the dolphins say, you know, so long and thanks for all the fish. Because it pointed directly to what I think you're speaking to, Dr. Liza, that animal life has got this kind of down in a lot of ways. If you have a dog in your house and you introduce a kitten, there might be a little bit of push and a little bit of back and forth to get started. But before long, the dog and the cat are brothers and sisters, and they're both in it together. And they realize that. And then they start to express that. And I love how, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Sharif Abdullah, he spoke very clearly a world that works for all life, not all people, but all of life. And that includes the dolphins, and it includes the furry creatures and the creepy crawly creatures and the winged creatures and all the various creatures on the planet, as well as you're saying, the ocean itself and the trees and the rocks and all of it. And for it, I want to stay hopeful as well that the human aspect of life on this planet has awakened. We may not really be quite there yet in embrace. Well, all right, obviously we're not there.
I was going to say, I don't think we've awakened. Hopefully we're stirring, at least in our sleep, and maybe coming to some consciousness.
Maybe my visionary self got away with me.
Listen, we need that hope. We need that vision. You know, we're the babies. Humans are the youngest creatures on this planet. And, you know, young children have an arrogance. When my granddaughter was 7, she knew everything. She knew more than me. If you asked her, you know, no, Grandma Liza, that's wrong. I'm like, actually, baby, I've been alive a lot longer than you. And it really is like that, you know. She's old enough now to know that that I might know a few things. But as humans, I think we have that arrogance of, we think we're the top of the peer, you know, evolutionary, whatever.
Yep.
But we're not. And nature has so much to teach us. Nature is our elder, right? Nature is our mother. If we I love seeing, like the books about how trees are all connected in the roots and they care for each other. It's one being. Has a lot of different bodies that we see that, of course, we thought were separate, but it turns out they're one. I think there is so much wisdom everywhere in nature that if we would listen, right? If we would humble ourselves to listen, if we would humble ourselves to listen to the people that never stopped knowing the truth, that's perhaps what might turn the tide. But we have to put down the arrogance.
Beautifully said. And you just said the magic word that I think we talk about in this program every single week with every single guest, and that is the ability to listen and listen more deeply. And right now, folks, we need to go listen to a couple more sponsors real quick. And we also want to make sure that we get a chance to say thank you to those that make this network possible. So please don't go away. We're going to be right back with more with Liza Rankow and our final thoughts for the day. So stay tuned. We'll be back in just a moment.
You are a gift. That is the absolute truth. You are a gift, a blessing to the world, a way that the infinite love of God shines itself, shares itself, and expresses itself more fully in the world. You are a gift and a blessing. Please take that seriously. Take it as your honor. Take it as your opportunity to be a light that shines for others. Be that bright light of God's love that's the truth of who you are. And enjoy it, because you deserve it.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Yes, thank you to all of our organizational sponsors and individual donors for helping us to bring you programming such as this. What a wonderful conversation we've been having today. I'm just all giddy goosebumps with what's been going on here. So we want to again say thank you for taking the time to be with us. And Dr. Liza, thank you for being here. Before we go, we do always like to kick off or end our show with our final thoughts. I'm going to kick it over to Rev Z to get us started.
Yeah, I think given this deep conversation we've had today, and I believe soul stirring, my thought would be look deep within your heart, your mind, and your soul, and figure out what sounds cliche, what is yours to do, and then do it. No more waiting for somebody to tell you. No more waiting to feel comfortable. None of that. Now is the time, and this is the hour. If it's going to get done, we have to do it now.
Beautiful. Dr. Liza.
Mine is similar, Revzi. That I do believe that each of us comes into this life with purpose, right? With a soul purpose. And that these times, it's not accidental. If you are here alive on the planet at this moment, that is by purpose. And so I guess it's an invitation for each of us to do the deep discernment work. And it can take, it's a layering process of revelation and understanding. And often our greatest gifts come out of our wounds, right? As we do the healing of our own wounds, what we learn, what is cultivated within us is, I believe, the medicine that's needed in the world at these times. So I just want to encourage everybody, to find the medicine in your wounds. What is your gift to the world?
Beautiful. I want to echo the soul stirring. It's been a great conversation, and folks, do let us know what came through for you. What's important? What's impactful? What did you get out of this? Send us an email, ministertalk@ntmedia.org. And if you'd like to engage more with Dr. Liza's work, head on over to her website, lizarankow.org. It's right there running across the bottom of your screen. We'll also leave links in the description of this show, as well as links to the article that we mentioned earlier in our program, so you can find that and dig into that a little bit more as you go. And I kind of preface this segment with what I said at the end of the last one. We always seem to come back to that, the importance of being able to listen, to the listening, and then the discernment to determine what is ours to do in the midst of this, rather than just rush forward with, I know the answer, but to listen more deeply, not only to our guests, but to the divine and to that inner calling. Dr. Liza, we really appreciate you making the time to be with us. I hope you come back again sometime.
Yeah.
I would love to. It's been a wonderful conversation with you both, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here. All right, folks, that's all we've got time for now today. We'll be back again real soon with more of New Thought Today. Until then, we want to wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.